Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Amma and Kevin Show Unlocked. If this is your first time here with us, you're welcome. If you're seasoned with us, welcome to another day of speaking about what's coming up on our hearts. And today's conversation is about identity and the power of identity. When was your identity formed? Who helped you to form the identity you hold of yourself? And as you've been growing, what has been happening to your identity? Are you aware of any shifts in your identity about yourself that you hold near and dear to you, and those that you've had to let go because you're trying to get to the next best version of yourself? How are you, Kevin?
I'm excellent, thanks. How are you doing?
Yeah, not bad. So
Good.
let's explore identity, Kevin. What does it mean?
Okay.
What does it mean to you, your identity?
I think it actually identity is like who you are, who you represent,
Hmm.
how the world sees you, how you present yourself, and just who you are, everything about you.
Okay, so if I didn't know you, and based on how you are projecting, what would you hope I'm picking up about your identity?
That I was very approachable and amicable and um, caring and just somebody that you'd like to be around, like a positive energy, um, knowledgeable. I don't know how much you would assume that you know about me, but like, just by if I came in and I just said, "Hi, Emma, it's really nice to meet you. How are you doing?" Then I would hope that you would see that I was like a pretty approachable person and kind and, open and seemed like somebody that you could have a conversation with in
Hmm.
that short period of time.
So that's the public identity. Is there a
Mhm.
private identity that you hope I don't pick up or you make an effort to suppress?
I like the way you said that. You hope I don't pick up. I think it's just like, oh yeah, that. Um, no, I think that the whole thing uh about your identity is that I don't think you can have several. I think it has to be your private and public have to be somewhat similar and coordinate with each other so that you can't live two separate lives because that's what it would be like. You'd be like public Kevin and private Kevin. But I think yes, you want your quiet time, you want time with your family, you want things like that, but you're the same person that you would be out in public. Like you're just as kind, just as generous, just as giving and caring and communicative, um, no matter whether it's your personal stuff. I think in terms of things that I wouldn't want to put up there, I wouldn't want to put that I was super nervous every time I spoke in public, for example, or that I didn't want to be around certain things, like that I didn't like flying, something like that, right? I think, but still, even that, it's not really a big deal, right?
Okay. All right. What I was getting at is that we all play different roles and responsibilities, right? And
Hmm.
as we navigate the different roles and responsibilities that we hold in life, our identity changes. So, for example, generally speaking, as a mother, I'm bold, I'm courageous, I'm powerful. At least that's the identity I'm projecting to my children. But obviously,
Hmm.
these days, as they get older, also, I'm letting them see that behind that woman is also a little girl that needs a hug and wants to be loved and cries just like
Hmm.
you and hurts and all that, because I want them to see that whatever identity I'm holding for them to be their
Hmm.
nurturer, carer, educator, the person that inspires and motivate them. I can also inspire and motivate them through my vulnerability. So that's why I asked you that.
Okay, I understand that, but I think isn't that's still a part of your identity of who you are, right? Like it's just something that you're not um, portraying out in the open, but it is still because of the person that you are that you need those things, right? So it's not really a secret identity, I
Oh
don't
no, not
think.
a
That's just
secret,
my
but
opinion.
I'm saying I suppress the taking stage scared version of
Yeah.
me My kids don't get to see
Yeah,
it often.
for sure. Yeah.
That's my
Okay.
professional
Yeah.
side. So there are, I mean, they're interrelated and they weave into
Mhm.
each other, but we also do put a
Yeah.
spotlight. You've got some spotlights above you.
I know what you mean.
Like on certain parts of us, depending what situation we find ourselves in.
I think as I get older, I have less and less of that though.
Mm-hmm.
Like I pretty much, like I think people pretty much know all sides of me at this point. You know what I mean? Like just I don't know. I think, you know, like everybody knows I can cry on a dime, right? Like because I'm super wimp. I cry at commercials. That's not good. But there are some good commercials out there. So yeah, like I think definitely when I was younger, there would be parts like of insecurity, or things that if I didn't know something, I wouldn't want people to know that I was not as knowledgeable as I wanted to be, or hadn't, gained that knowledge yet, for sure. But now, not so much. Like I think as you get older, you kind of lose that inhibition to hide yourself. If it was something if it was something big, I guess, I don't know. But like I have no problem saying I'm nervous about doing something or I'm afraid of doing something, and I don't have a problem asking for affection or a hug or things like that, right? So I think, it just depends. I think everybody's different.
Mm.
But everybody has secrets of some kind, but I don't think they're a direct kind of indication of an identity, you know? I could be
Okay.
wrong.
So from what age did you become aware of the identity that you hold, particularly that you inherited from your family? For example, in my family, my father had a very strong identity around
Right.
our surname. My maiden name is Opong Adai, and I'm from the
What is
Ashanti.
it?
Opong Adai. Can you say it?
I don't think so. Apong? Apong?
Opong Adai.
Adai.
Yeah.
Apong Adai.
Yeah.
Apong Adai.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
I
that
like it.
name is from the Ashanti tribe, and the Ashantis from Ghana are very proud individuals because they're from royalty. They have a lot of money. They're generally quite academic, intelligent, whatever. So my
How
dad,
far back does that go?
centuries,
Really?
generations.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, pre-colonial days, like if you
Wow.
look up African history, the Ashanti tribe is, still a powerful tribe now.
Is
So
it?
yeah, so my dad brought us up with a very proud identity around our name. Hey, remember you're an Apongadai, like I always
Mhm.
in the world, make sure you represent, there was this massive identity around my name and who we are. So that's an identity that I inherited from my parents.
Mhm.
What is the identity that you inherited from your parents that you still hold in you today?
I think, I kind of miss out on some of that because I lost my father so young.
Hmm.
So I really like identify with my mother, which sounds weird, but like my mother was an incredibly strong person and very resilient. And I think, I got that um from my mother. But yeah, I think, she really instilled like moralistic things in me that like you don't quit, like you don't give up, um kind to other people, like that kind of thing, like that you were contributing to being a good human being, and wanting to help always people that were less fortunate or whatever, like never turning your back on people. Like I got a lot of that from my mother. My father, because I was so young, I do remember that he was a very, very happy person, like, and that no matter what, like I do recall times when, my sister was having huge, everything was the end of the world, and my father was always able to make her laugh and not realize that it was like not so bad after all. Like I remember those types of things, and if like my parents were very affectionate, I remember that. So those things are important to me. Like I think I have, I've always been pretty open with that. Like I know with my mother, I remember as a younger well, so young, like in high school. I remember she remarried and she married a gentleman that had other children, right? And
That's
I
the first
remember
time you called
once,
him a gentleman.
yeah, no, I didn't know what I couldn't say what I was, but um, but so I remember one thing, like we didn't go to the same school. We were all kind of the same age, but we didn't go to the same school. And I didn't live with them very long because whatever. But I remember walking to school and we had to go the same kind of distance. They were basically one block apart. And I was halfway to school and I'm like, oh my God. And then my stepsister was like, what? And I go, I forgot to kiss my mother goodbye. And I
Wow.
ran all the way back home, right? And she was just leaving for work. And I'm like, no. And my stepsister was like, yeah, freak. But it was that kind of thing. Like we had that kind of connection, right? And it was important to do that. And I'm still the same. Like I still show that kind of affection with the people that I care for and am involved with. So it's important, right? And I think that was something that was, definitely very strong with me growing up.
That's very interesting, Kevin, because I grew up in a household that I knew I was loved, but I was rarely hugged or kissed by both parents.
Yeah.
They didn't
My
show
mother was
me,
very
they weren't
affectionate.
touchy in that way. My mum
Yeah.
may be a bit more than my dad, but my dad was always a bit awkward when I approached him to give him a kiss and a hug.
Really.
Yeah.
It is, that's interesting because like my step family was very much like that. They had like zero affection. Like they were really cold people. And I could never figure it out. Like but my stepfather was ice cold. He was like just I don't know how my mother ever met him, but anyway, whatever. But my mother was a complete opposite. And even like all the time, like, sitting on the couch or something, like I would always be sitting by my mom or whatever, like hugging her and stuff like that. And they would just look at you like you had two heads or something. It was weird. It just wasn't something that they were. And then all through growing up, and still to this day, they all are very distant and can't stand each other. A very strange dynamic, but it is what it
So
is, right?
we've gone through identity from parenting. Let's look at your
Mhm.
identity through school. What was the identity you carried of yourself through your school, like formative years? Maybe primary school, kindergarten, whatever you guys call it, right into high school.
Mhm. Yeah, so like I guess we do like kindergarten to grade 8 in elementary school,
Mhm.
and I think I was a very open person, open book, entertaining, that kind of thing, and I valued friendships. Like I really valued the people that I knew and the kids that I knew, and I had a number of friends that were afflicted with different things. Like, I had one friend who was in a wheelchair and another person who had I guess in the 60s, there was a drug that women took that caused a lot of damage, like physical damage to children. So they had like small arms, almost like flippers kind of thing, right? And there was a girl in our school who had that. And I always hung around with them, like, because people would make fun of them and stuff like that, right? And I was just like, well, there's nothing wrong with these people. Um, so I think I value the difference in people and what people kind of faced, and I always had this like kind of self-righteous need to protect and make sure that everybody was taken care of,
Hmm.
kind of thing.
For me, I was painfully shy. You won't believe this, painfully shy in primary school. Like
What?
literally,
Really?
literally a church mouse. I wouldn't say boo. And my worst nightmare was to be picked to read something out loud in class. Like, I just didn't want to stand up. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to even hear my own voice projecting back at me. And I'll always
That's
have
a
the
big thing.
shakiest voice ever. Ah! Like literally tremble. My worst nightmare. Okay, so those who are old enough to remember a blackboard, for the teacher to hand me a chalk and ask me to write something and just,
Do the, yeah,
I couldn't bear it. Yeah, I
do
couldn't.
the question.
And then during teenage years, let's say I came out of myself a bit. I came out into into a friendship group that was very tight knit, and these girls are still my best friends till today, all throughout secondary school. But I was never like, I never carried the identity of the confident girls who are wearing the latest trends and fashion. I was never trendy. I was never stylish. I was never fashionable. I was just sort of the very nerdy, clever girl in the background, quiet. Like, I didn't even think people would notice if I wasn't even in school. But within my little clique, I had the best time. We would laugh at things, jokes. But I was really good at sports also. So as I grew older, my confidence came by being very athletic. I was very good at gymnastics. I'll do things like trampolining, and I excelled at sports quite well. And
that's so funny because you would never think that you were a shy person, like that you actually went through that phase.
I was so shy. I love seeing my daughter and how bold and courageous and confident she is.
Yeah.
11. Like, I look up to her because Kevin, I was so bloody shy. Ridiculously.
That's funny.
Yeah. And then I think I got better at university, because at university you have to do a lot of group work and like PowerPoint presentations and bring stuff in front of the class. So then I was forced to find my voice. And I guess maybe I didn't believe in myself. Whatever that thing is, not pretty enough, not smart enough. I always felt like the underdog in the room, and
when do you think that the biggest change happened to you then? Because like was it university or was it after university?
It was during university.
Was it?
It was during university, because I was able to look at my peers and think, what? If she's confident, why am I not confident? Do you understand? And I guess it was from practice, Kevin, really. I'd say it's practice. The more I put myself out there, the more either voluntary or involuntary, I was forced to, because it was a requirement of my course, or, the more I put myself into things that will make me uncomfortable, then I realized that, oh, come on, you're perfectly capable, you're smart, go for it, let go of all that. So then I realized that actually it's not that I'm not that thing that I believed about myself. It was what I was telling myself. What am I telling myself that's keeping me small, stuck? What is keeping me still that little 9-year-old that's shy, right? There was a narrative and a story in my head, and I just basically built a new empowering belief about myself, and saw myself for who I truly was, because I held an identity that wasn't me. I held an identity, and I don't know where I got that from, but I started to see myself for who I truly am, which is a closer version of what I am today.
And it is that's amazing, because it is mindset. It is your mind. Like it's what you think of yourself, right? And that's when you think of your identity, it's who you believe you are, and what makes you. And it's initially, like you said, as a child you get a lot of your stuff from your parents and things like that, but then ultimately you grow and you start kind of weeding out things that don't really fit into your identity as you get older, and then you take on different things and changing, and new avenues of things that you believe in, or how you believe in things. Like I know quite a few people that change their religious beliefs or adapt their religious beliefs differently when they get older, right? From what they had when they were children, if they had any. Some kids don't have any, and then some people acquire them, right? So it is interesting that that we do actually have that much control over it, and it does really end up being what you want it to be. And I think the struggle is that some people don't understand that they do have the ability to change their identity, or and I'm not talking about passports and fingerprints, just in case I'm getting the wrong impression. But it's like, because they feel like, I can't do this. I've never been able to do this, but you actually can. Like, you can change your belief that you cannot do something, right? And there's a million examples of books on it, but it is something that, it's practice, and it's self-talk, and it's, affirmations and believing in yourself.
Mm. I think also talking about families and formative years and childhood, sometimes you can't hold an identity of what's possible for you when it's not being modeled for you, right? So
Yeah.
it's difficult to be something that you haven't seen yet. My mum is still quite a shy person. She's a very powerful woman. She's very strong. She's very courageous. She'll do very daring things. But in terms of standing up for herself, using her voice, taking space, she's still kind of got that, let's say, cultural identity of being submissive, of being,
Right.
kindness is led through allowing somebody else's preferences to lead yours, like it's just an upbringing way. So it was
Yeah.
difficult for me to step into what's possible for me when I hadn't seen it modeled for me. And it's
Yeah, that
also
makes total
difficult
sense.
when you're the trailblazer. In my family, I was in a household with 8 people, mom, dad, 6 children, 5 brothers, and I was the only girl.
Yeah.
So
Tough.
yeah, in a way, I got my strength and power from my brothers because I was always trying to keep up with their level of strength. Otherwise, they'll say, "Oh, you're a girl, go play with dolls." No, I had to do stronger push-ups, or be able to run after a ball just as hard, if not harder than them. So it made me stronger in another way, in other parts of me. Yeah, my identity was just trying to find the way to balance it from being like that, being like mum, which was
Yeah.
modeled for me, or being like my brothers, or being myself. And what helped me the most is when I embraced myself, and it's kind of a fusion of both parts and giving birth to a new way of me that I can be. And sometimes it's hard when you are the trailblazer also. I'm the first of a generation of women from my family that's doing what I'm doing, Kevin.
Right.
Everybody
Wow.
followed a similar path, or, in their own strength, in their own creativity, in their own flair, but it's similar. I'm the first to take a path that it's truly me. So it takes a lot more building a strong identity than relying on generational patterns.
Do you think it's something that's constantly changing?
What's constantly changing?
Your identity.
I think so. My identity is constantly expanding, right? Whatever I believe about myself today, let's say it's this big, expanding.
Right.
The more I become more competent, the more I'm outside my comfort zone, the more I work on my skills and capabilities, the more I shine, the more I think my identity is expanding.
I always, just regarding that, like thinking about constantly changing, the person that comes to my mind, do you, Iris Apfel, who just passed away, she was 103, and she was like a fashion icon in New York City, but constantly revising herself. She was an incredible woman, like just, and when you think of that, you think like she spent her entire life like creating her identity, right? And just perfecting it to like right to the end. And it's such an interesting life that she had. And when you look at what we're talking about, you can see, how you could actually watch it from the beginning of her life to go through and just see what she's done with her life, and how the way that she adapted and changed to the way the world was changing, and what her values became, and how they changed to fit in with what was going on. It's really quite remarkable. Interesting.
Today, with the pace of technology, I think if you're not adapting and changing, within a year, you literally become a dinosaur. We have
I
to
think it's hard for younger people with all of this too, like the changes and everything, to keep up, because they struggle, the kids struggle with so much just in a normal life, right? But with all this technology and everything else going on, like they must be just going crazy because there's just so much going on.
Kevin, in my household is the complete opposite. They are so
What-
adaptable. Like every
Yeah,
time
no, I
we
know
go through a
there's,
change, we notice it. We notice COVID. We
yeah,
notice when I go to the supermarket and oh my God, how many self-checkouts and all the things that
yeah,
seem like inconveniences, you know, because
yeah.
my dad called us born before computers. These kids, they're so
Mhm.
adaptable and they're excited about
Yeah.
the change. They're excited to see something different. Like, wow, look,
Mhm.
this is now like this. You know, this is how we do things in school. Change has
Mhm.
become a part of their DNA, and they're used to changing because change is accelerating.
Yeah.
Change is accelerating.
Mhm.
Before, 10 years looked and felt very similar. You know, if you think about how long our parents were playing records or tapes,
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
too. Change was
Yeah.
infrequent, but today, every like 6 weeks, there's something else that you get used to
I
one thing,
know.
something else is changing. So it's become like a cellular level in their DNA that they're more adaptable to change than we
Mhm.
ever have been.
I know when you think about what's going on and how it was, like we didn't have phones, like we didn't have a cell phone, which is bizarre, right? Like to think, how did we survive?
And today, you can't leave the house without one.
No, and if you don't know where it is, just in the house, you're freaking out, right? So it's pretty
Okay,
scary.
let's have some fun.
All
Because we're
right.
talking about identity, I want to pick out a believe card for you. Yeah? To see
Okay.
what comes up for you. Ah, this is massive. I'm just going to half it. Pick a card.
Okay, it's a bit right here. Like, I don't know. Can you see what I'm doing? Like, I don't
No.
know. So right in the middle,
Describe
kind
it.
of in the middle.
The middle.
Grab one and over more. There,
This
yeah, that
one.
one. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so let's see what it says. Ooh. So, talking about identity, Kevin,
Ooh.
what does that say?
Am I allowing myself to be appreciated? Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Mhm.
No, I am not. I don't think you appreciate me enough.
Your Royal Highness. I'm sorry.
Exactly. I'm in the wrong country. I should be there and you should be here.
Sorry, guys. Kevin thinks he's royal. He's not happy being ordinary.
I know. It's plain living in Quebec.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you allowing yourself to be appreciated, Mr. Raymond?
you know what? Sometimes I don't know. I don't think so.
Hmm.
Sometimes, all the time. I don't even actually. What would you say that is? Like what allows you to be appreciated? Like letting people, um, what is that? What does that mean to you?
I think when you've had the identity of being an empath, and that means that your whole identity is built around serving other people, and
Hmm.
you practice very little self-care, meaning um, receiving as well, because some people are more comfortable giving,
Yeah.
uncomfortable receiving. So maybe you might find it difficult to receive compliments or receive acts of kindness or gestures, or receive, or somebody to appreciate maybe your creativity or your talents or your gifts,
Hmm.
because you're more comfortable with, number one, speaking to yourself in a certain way.
Yeah.
So, and you talked about this earlier, you can never supersede your own identity that
Yeah.
you see of yourself. So
Yeah.
if you're not used to complimenting yourself, loving on yourself, validating yourself, it's going to be very difficult for you to allow anybody else
Right.
to
To
appreciate
to
you.
show that. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay.
I would say I did struggle with that at some point, for sure.
Mm.
Yeah.
So identity is also part of new beginnings. What have I got here? New beginnings
Ah,
card.
new beginnings.
When we're trying to evolve, grow, get to the next best version of ourselves, you asked me, have I noticed that my identity is changing? Absolutely. My identity of who I was and how I saw myself and how I saw what's possible for me in the world during my kindergarten days is completely different to how I navigated my 20s through university, first job, and so on, and to today. So, Kevin, tell me, what is something new, a new beginning that you're going to be embarking on this year so that I can pick a card for you?
I'm going to be doing speaking engagements with schools.
Speaking engagement with schools. I love that. So, what do you need to believe about yourself to step forward with this identity as a speaker for teenagers or school children?
I have to believe that I'm valuable to them.
You have to believe that you are valuable to them.
Yeah, I have value to offer them.
Okay.
And insight, right?
All right, then. So pick a card.
I'm going to go with the very first card on my left, my right. No, the other side. Yes. Yeah, that one.
Okay, so this says, do I allow insignificant things to get in my way of my true happiness? Can I?
I don't think so. Most things, if something's getting in my way, it's not insignificant. It has to be pretty big. So no, I don't think that happens to me.
What about when you think, are they going to receive my message well?
No, that's not what I. How dare you? That's not. No, that's not what I meant by that. I meant that that I offered value, not that they wouldn't receive it well. Like I think I'll get my message out there. I was referring to like that. I want to make sure that I have value for them.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing?
Yeah. I think to some degree we all allow insignificant things to block us or disturb our mind, occupy space in our real estate, our mental real estate. And I'll give you an example.
Like a traffic light?
Yeah, a red light. Okay. A red light in life. I might have a conversation with, say, my mom that upset me. And I will repeat that conversation a few times to myself.
Okay, yeah.
And that's completely insignificant because what I'm dealing with in my goals, in my dreams, moving forward, or even as the relationship, it's not even important. But I do see some mental real estate going over the conversation. I should have said this. I could have said that.
Right. Okay.
That. So to some degree, we're all circulating sometimes on some days. It's impossible not to around some insignificant things that occupy our mind. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And it's coming to awareness for it. So for me, when that happens, I come to awareness that, hang on a second, are you still giving this crap time? And then I go to work to stop.
Right.
Like I literally interrupt that thought pattern to say, give it up. And
yeah, there's that question to ask, like if you were to die tomorrow, would this be on your list of things to worry about? Right?
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
That's it.
Okay, so identity has a lot to do with inspiration. So I'm going to pick a deck from inspiration.
We're pulling out all the cards today.
So you have this amazing inspiration of being a spokesperson, a bridge between children and teachers. Yes. A friendly person that appears to inspire them, motivate them, get them focused on the right things that are not taught in school. So pick an inspiration card.
Okay, lift your hand up. The other one. The one that you're going to use to pick. Yeah, move it over the cards. Stop. Yep. Stop. Right back. No, back. Oh, I want the one I want.
This one.
There. Yep. Okay. Yep.
All right. This is your card right here. And it says, embracing your emotions is the greatest kindness you can give to yourself.
I agree. I agree with that. Don't you think? Like, I think you have to. have to allow your emotions to run their course, like to do their thing, not anger and things like that. Like I think you still get angry, but I think mostly when people refer to that, they're talking about like emotional crying, things like that. But I've definitely had my days where I've gotten in the car and just screamed at the top of my lungs just
Okay,
to get
so
it out.
Kevin, let me just embracing your emotions is the greatest kindness you can give to yourself.
Mhm.
Break that down. What does that mean to you?
Because embracing your emotions allows you to experience what you're going through and where you're going and what caused you to feel this way. Why is that happening? Why do you
Give
feel
us
like
an
that?
example that relates to you.
Of
Make it deeply personal.
okay. I don't know. I guess I always go back to my kids because that was like, my kids have I think my kids have opened up every emotion I've ever had in my life. But I think, where you want to be a parent, you want to be a friend, you want to be a father, like you want to be all those things, and you got to do the right thing and kind of step out of it. So I know that there was a time um with my older son, he was in school, and there was a period of time where a teacher wanted um him to be medicated, right? And I did not want to medicate my kids because of their previous history, right, with their parents and things like that, the drugs and things that were involved. So I didn't want to do that because I felt that it would be detrimental to them, right? Whereas, um, you know, the teacher, who I don't know why she thought she was a doctor, but anyway, it's not like I made the decision on my own. I did go to doctors and things like that, right? And I know my son was struggling at the time, but I did not want him at that time in his life. I didn't think it was the right time for him to be medicated. Like I knew deep down at some point he would have to be, but at that particular time, and I think it was a very emotional thing, and I had to go against a lot of people who believed that I should be doing something else.
Mm.
Um, but I had to let, I did make that decision in based entirely on how I felt, like the emotion I felt about it, and that I felt I was doing the right thing, whether I was or not at that time. I don't know. I still believe I did the right thing by not doing it at that time. But I don't think there were very many people supporting me. And it was a very difficult time. Like it was a difficult emotion. It doesn't sound that monumental, but it was huge because it brought in so many different factors and beliefs that I had that I didn't want. It was kind of a promise that I made that I would never, put my kids in that position again to be afflicted by that kind of stuff because it is a drug, like ADHD stuff or whatever, Ritalin and all that stuff. It's a drug, and it's not like it's abused by a lot of people. A lot of parents choose that route based on a teacher's opinion, which I think is incorrect. Um, anyway, I think that was one of them, and I thought that was like that. I totally let my emotions run the course of that decision, right? So I don't know if that answers your question,
It does.
but
It's difficult, but it's good to see how it's played up in your life and how you're fully self-aware, and you can also navigate through your
but
emotions as they rise, and you know
yeah,
do the dance.
can I tell you? Can I tell you how powerful your mind is, though, in terms of that?
Hmm.
So I went after discussing it with the doctor and everything. I decided against it, and then I went to the school and I told the um, principal who brought it up that we chose to medicate him and put him on medication, which we did not. So I lied, and 1 week later, rave reports about what a difference it's made in him. And I it's just like, wow. And, you know,
Clearly needed it.
no, 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 no. I didn't give him medication.
Oh, you
I
didn't?
told the
Oh, okay.
school, I told the teacher, the
Oh,
principal,
that you
that
have been
he
doing it.
was medicated. And then a week later, she said, like, it's the difference is incredible. Like, it's unbelievable.
Is that the placebo effect?
I think so. Right? Like,
Wow.
I know. It was like, and then, yeah, it was not the first time I experienced something like that. I thought it was pretty amazing, but it's the power of the mind, right? Like, you believe that now they believe that my son was medicated and everything was fine,
Mm.
which I thought was pretty incredible.
Thank you for sharing that, Kevin. It's always interesting to see how not just our own mind work, but how other people's mind work, and that
Yeah.
they believed your son was being medicated and saw a different outcome in him, but it was the same boy, same behavior
Yes.
turning up
Right.
for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Just how they deal with it. Right.
Yeah.
It's how they perceive it.
Mm.
Right. There's a whole bunch of other things I could say about that, but I won't.
We'll have a separate session on that. Well,
Yeah.
I'm conscious of time. So this was fun as always, exploring identity with, Blink
Mhm.
cards and this great conversation. So thank you very much for joining if you're with us until this point. And thank you, Kevin, for all that you shared. And we'll
Thank
see you
you.
very, very soon.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care now.
Take care.
Bye, everyone. Bye.